Hey, welcome back to the Engineered Channel. It's springtime. It's getting time to ride again. You're going to see a lot more bikes popping up on your local used market, on Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist. You may be looking for a metric cruiser. So today we're going to look at the Honda VTX and see which one. They come in two different sizes. We've got the 1800 and the 1300. We'll ride both of them. We'll talk about the differences and we'll see which one we like the best. Come on back. So today we're talking about the Honda VTX. What does VTX stand for? V-Twin Extreme. So when Honda released these bikes, they released the 1300 first and the 1800. The 1800, when they released that, was the biggest V-Twin in the world. It was the biggest in the world at 1800 cc's. It's not anymore. They got beat a little later by Kawasaki. Kawasaki, I think, released one that was 2000 cc, a V-twin. But this is a true V-twin bike. So what's the difference in the 1800 and the 1300? Well, number one, the weight, okay? This is definitely a heavier bike. The horsepower is different. This bike is rated somewhere between, depends on where you read, between 101 and 110 horsepower, where this little guy over here is rated at about 75 to 80 horsepower, somewhere in that neighborhood. So a difference of about 35 horsepower. The torque numbers are a little bit closer, 117 foot-pounds of torque and about 95 foot-pounds of torque. So you've got about 20 foot-pounds of torque difference in the two. But that bike is lighter and doesn't quite need as much torque as this bike is. And we're going to ride these and kind of see what the difference is. So what other differences are there? The big 1800 has a hydraulically operated clutch, whereas the 1300, it's cable actuated. So a little bit smoother, but not bad. And then both bikes kind of lacking in the controls department as far as your instrument. They both just have a speedometer. That's about it. And so pretty simple controls on these. Both of these bikes in particular have aftermarket exhaust on them. So if you're looking for a cruiser bike, right, are you going to get a sport bike, or are you going to get a cruiser bike, or are you going to get a big touring bike with the big bags and all that? This is a pretty good combination of both of those. You get a cruiser bike, but you also get a touring pack with some bags on them. Both these have some bags added to them, which makes these really comfortable. These are both really comfortable bikes. What's the difference in this and a Harley Davidson? Reliability, okay? You get Honda reliability, but you get the ride and the feel of a big cruiser bike in the that you would think of that you would get in a Harley Davidson. Plus, you can pick these up on the used market a lot cheaper than you can buy yourself a new Harley Davidson, or a used Harley Davidson for that matter. So these are going to range depending on mileage and condition. This is an 02 model. The 1300 is an 05 model. You can pick these up for somewhere between $2,500 to $4,500 pretty consistently on the used market for these bikes. They quit making these in about 08, and so they're not making these anymore. But if you want a big cruiser bike with a true cruiser feel, take a look at the Honda VTX. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for a ride, and we're going to compare kind of both of them. I'm going to ride both of them. I'm going to have a buddy of mine ride both of them, and we're going to switch around and see what the difference is, what the difference in feel is, and kind of let you know, so that you know which one maybe you want to go after and look at. So let's take these out on the road and see what they do. Okay, so we're fixing to go for a ride. I got my buddy Noah. Y'all seen Noah before on the channel. That's actually Noah's bike there. And we're gonna ride. This is my buddy Mark's bike. We're gonna go ride, and then we'll switch, and then we'll kind of get an opinion on what we think about these. So let's go for a quick ride, quick burn. Where's the key to this thing? All right. nice, clean, crisp spring day and a good ride on a couple of big old cruisers. All right, we're back from our ride. These two bikes, even though they're the same VTX bikes, couldn't be more different, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Number one, you got to know a couple things about these bikes. The brakes are different on this bike than that bike. This bike has front brake, rear brake. They are separate. On this bike, it has what's called linked brakes. The front brake applies 2/3 of the front brake, and the rear brake applies the rear brake and the remaining third of the front brake. And you can tell it too.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can tell.
You have to use both brakes to stop comfortably on that one. And this one is more, you know, analog brakes. It's the front brake, back brake, you know, like I'm used to riding on a bike. So if you're used to that, but it just takes a lot more brake to get that heavy thing stopped.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, this bike is carbureted. The 1300s are carbureted. They have a pull-out choke on them, and the big boys are fuel injected, and so they don't have a choke on them. So, but as far as the ride goes, what's your thoughts?
So, first thing about the 1300 is it is a single disc front caliper. So using the front brake, you know, the front brake's not going to stop you very quick. But using the front brake and the back brake, it's got good brakes. This one, it was a little bit getting used to as he was talking about the dual brake, but I mean, it would slow the bike down definitely. This one is lighter, but it doesn't have the throttle response like the 1800 does.
This is plenty of bike for somebody.
Yeah, yes.
Plenty of bike. This is also a bike for a smaller person.
Yeah, yeah.
The first thing that I notice is the width of the tank on this one, because you're straddling the tank. That thing has got like a Boss Hoss fuel tank on it. It's this wide.
Yeah.
And this one's not as wide. So for a smaller frame person, this is probably the bike you should go with, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm 5'10", 5'11", and it fits me. Fits me pretty comfortably, but if you're any taller than that, you know, the 1800 might be a better option for you.
Even the foot controls seem a little farther forward on this bike than they do on this bike.
Yeah, this one you do kind of feel a little bit more stretched out, but that's just the placement of the foot pegs.
So it is a smaller bike, and the feel of the bike and everything. Now, on the other hand, it does make this a little bit more nimble, I think.
Yeah,
than
yeah,
that.
I would agree.
Yeah, so this bike, it handles a little quicker, and it's a little quicker running in and out of traffic. That thing, you got to plan what you're going to do before you do
Yeah.
it, because, and that's a ton of motorcycle. I mean, that's probably, even today, even with bigger bikes, that's probably still one of the fastest cruiser bikes on the road, period.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. This one will get up and go, and this one will get up and go faster.
Well, this never bogs down. You get in it and you feel like, oh, the motor's bogged down. You roll on the throttle and it just wah, 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 and it just pulls and pulls and
Just
pulls.
wants to give more.
Yeah, it is got so much power. Not that you buy one of these bikes to go fast on,
Yeah.
right? But if you're, as far as cruiser bikes go, that's probably the fastest thing on the road.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
I would
Bigger
say
is better.
I would say if you're going to be mostly in town but still want a cruiser, I think the 1300 would be the better bet. But if you are going to plan on doing some rides and stuff, I would opt for the 1800.
I agree. If you're going to go out on the road, the 1800 is the way to go. In town, this is a little more nimble, and also this has the cool stealth low rise windshield on it. This has the Big Daddy full windshield, but on the highway, man, you gotta have a big windshield. I don't care how cool you are. That thing beats you to death, man. It was blowing me around pretty good, but anyway. So that's the difference in the bike. This is a smaller feeling bike than that. If you're a big guy, I'm 6'2", you know, and to me, that seems more comfortable. I felt a little bit cramped on the smaller bike.
Yeah. This one, it was a lot of bike for me.
Of course,
Like,
this
is
one
where I
also
feel-
has a backrest,
Yeah.
which is set a little far forward for me. So I felt like I was kind of
Yeah.
so. For maybe with the backrest, if that wasn't on there and I could get a little bit farther back, it would be a little bit more comfortable. But definitely for a smaller frame person, this versus that, that's a heavy bike.
Yeah. Yeah, it does have some heft. to
And
it.
just handling it, stoplights and turn in, and it's a lot of motorcycle for somebody that if you don't have long legs. So
Once you're rolling though, you can't really feel the weight on it.
you cannot feel the weight, and the power is just so much fun on that thing because it pulls and pulls and pulls. don't get me wrong, this thing has plenty of power.
Yeah.
It'll go as fast as you want to go. But that has more.
More, yeah.
So the last thing you should know is both these bikes have a shaft drive, final drive on them. This does have smaller wheels than that bike does. It's just a supersized one of these. So I would say, depending on what you're going to do, in-town riding, yeah, this is a lot more nimble than that is. But if you're riding on the highway, the 1800 is the way to go.
Yeah.
So, and if you're a big frame person, go get on that one. Just go get the big one. So
The 1800 is also less maintenance with the fuel injected, and then it's got, you know, the hydraulic
right.
clutch.
Yeah, if these have been sitting for a while, you're going to have to do a rebuild on the carburetor, right?
Yes, sir.
Whereas the fuel injection just tends to run a little bit cleaner. It changes in altitude, handles a little bit better.
Yeah.
And so, but both really good bikes. And so if you're if you're interested in a metric cruiser bike, take a look at the Honda VTX. As a matter of fact, that one's for sale if you want to buy it. That one is currently on the market. It's in fantastic shape, so hit me up. Thanks, Noah, for helping me out and coming and letting us play with your bike. And we'll see you next time here on the Engineered Channel.